So the first trick I want to talk about is the way we slide past the elevator that comes up after we go through Alti's office, right after Mary Chase. The important thing to remember about this one is to have an evenly spaced dash towards the elevator and to walk into it, walk the rest of the way into it, because walking just gives you so much more control. Whenever you're sprinting, you kind of slide around a lot, and so what's very important is just keep in mind what sprint mode you're. I use toggle on because that is just the default behavior for Legacy. It's also nicer because you can just mash it and make sure that you're on sprint and you don't really have to think about it, whereas with toggle on and off, you know, you can toggle it on and then toggle it off if you're matching it accidentally. And also hold doesn't always register, and it's just annoying to have to hold down the key, but that's what just like my preference really. Any will work, you just have to bear in mind which one you're using. So with toggle on, obviously whenever you are sprinting, because you're going to want to be sprinting, and you want to go into a walk, you just let off of W and hold. And that's pretty much what I do. I mean, naturally you just let off of sprint when you're on hold, and then you just press shift again if you're on toggle on and off. But yeah, you really just have to sprint towards it, let off of W, and then just walk the rest of the way in. So how it's going to look is you go through Rotsi's office, and I do 3 dashes out of the office. I run around the pillar, and then dash once towards the elevator, let off of sprint, and then walk the rest of the way into it. So it's gonna look something like this. You sprint through here, do dash, 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 run around, dash once, and then walk the rest of the way. Right in. And then you don't have to worry about saving up energy to get those 3 dashes that you need, because just going into the cutscene and having to skip it is enough time for you to regenerate enough of what you need. You should have like near 2, if not a full energy bar. So the next thing I want to talk about is getting the dashes into each of the motels, because we have manips to get dashes into motels for Threshold, My Brother's Keeper, and Finished Tango. So how this works is enemies have a aggression timer, that forces you into a combat state even if you're in a non-combat area such as the motel, and it resets whenever you shoot them. It's quite a long timer actually, but if you do this, then you will have enough time to get 2 to 3 dashes in each of the motels. The one in My Brother's Keeper though is quite special, and I'll explain why when we get there. So how this is going to look is, when we run towards the door that we do the battery puzzle in, we just turn right and we take a shot at the enemies that are there, and that gives us enough time to go do the battery puzzle, get into the motel, and then we can do 2 to 3 dashes. You don't even have to stop interaction. You can hit this guy while you're interacting with the door. So what this is going to look like is this. If I can just get past the trees and stuff. Okay, so I usually shoot at the shielded guy here. Throw the battery in. This one up. And then I'm out of energy, but it's fine, it doesn't matter. You know for sure if you got it if she puts her hand back on her gun after pulling the cord. Here we have it. You want to look for the crosshairs when you're inside of the motel, so that if you see the crosshairs, then you know that you got it. So there's a couple of ways to do this one in the medical wing. It's also pretty lax, and it's the only one where we can get more than 2 or 3 dashes, and that is because the room that we are shooting the enemies in, that we want to aggro to us, is right below where the hotel is physically located. So just if you could just go out of bounds up above the room that we're about to go through, that's where the motel is. But so there's a couple ways to do this. You don't have to do exactly this. Really what's important is that you just aggro the enemies and they stay aggroed on to you. I believe that other techniques you can like lure them to follow you kind of, but I'm not really sure how to do that consistently without losing time. I'll just show you what I do here. We run past these guys. These aren't the guys that I think we keep aggroed onto us, but I'm sure that them being pissed off helps. We're dashing through this room. We turn back around, shoot that guy a couple of times. here, go over, and we really want to hit the button as fast as possible. Turn back around this way. If you see the health bar appear through the wall, then you know for sure that you got it. I think that's just a weird collision trace that fails. It goes through walls. And once again, you know you got it. You can see the crosshair, and your hands go back on the gun. And because we're located so physically close to the enemies, we can dash for substantially longer. I've had it where I can get dashes all the way through this entire puzzle before. You grab the keys and get out, and that's what that looks like. So the final motel minute to talk about is the one in Finished Tango. This one is very straightforward. Basically, the motel court is over here on the left, and there's a bunch of mold and scaffolding over here to the right. So the trick is literally to take a shot, hit them before you interact with the motel court. So it looks exactly like this. Three dashes and... So one thing I want to talk about really quick is coming into this first fight at the start of Face of the Enemy, there's actually a common enemy that you have wanted to kill him. He will actually follow you into the fight, and he is the only regular enemy. Just a regular gun and no shield. You actually don't want to kill him in this fight. You can kill him if you just want, if like your death or whatever, you need, like he can kill you, but generally want to keep him alive because it actually saves a couple seconds. So it's this guy, and he's gonna follow us into the next room while we do this fight. There he is, he followed us. Alright, he's still there. We'll kill these guys. And this room. Because he's alive, we can dash through here. It's just a very small time save, but it's... So if you made it this far, the last thing I want to talk about is just take a quick moment to point out some tech that I don't think has ever really been highlighted or explained before. Also not all this is really random bounds. The very first thing is what we call a wave dash. Super wave dash isn't like patched out in current. You can still do regular wave dash now. So what you kind of want to do is cock the camera to the side, press melee, and then dash at the same time. The timing is very tight because you have to input these two inputs on separate ticks, and it has to be ticked. So melee on one tick, dash on the other, and the game runs or simulates inputs at 30 ticks per 30 times a second. That is the first thing. And turning to the side just kind of helps you go a little bit further. After you do that, you kind of just want to scroll jump out of it. Helps you keep your... The second thing is a dash slide. I found this when I was running the Foundation DLC a couple years ago. Basically, you just dash into a ground pound and just slide out of it. You can also pop with this as well. Only place you can really use this on inbounds is Finished Tango, probably. Not really anywhere else that you're running in a straight line, besides fire breaks. And then the last thing is, I've already shown this. All runners are already using it. Show it off anyway, and it's called an NCA slide. So basically, anywhere that you go into a restrictive your weapons and stuff, you can dash into it and let off of all movement keys. And you just go soaring. So you can use it here, go to talk to Opti. You can also use it to go into the HRA lab on Old Boys Club, at the very end of Old Boys Club. Yeah, so right here. In a run, you want to do it when the door's coming up, and you want to do it like right as the door's over her head. So I'll usually interact with the door, I'll take one step back and then just kind of just sit. And you can get all the way over here to where you don't need to interact with the thing. But yeah, really the key thing when doing any of this is to just let go of all movement keys and just let lie to you because as soon as you press the movement key, it tries to cap you to Jesse's next. Yeah, that's about it.